right. So my name is Jacqueline. I am a third-year medical student at the University of Kentucky's College of Medicine, Bowling Green campus. And today I'm going to be presenting a poster entitled Real or Not, a case report on phantom pain syndrome. As we get started here, just looking at our learning objectives, the goal of this poster is to promote the awareness of phantom limb pain, and that's also going to be known as PLP. Our second learning objective will be looking at the complexity of diagnosis and management for PLP. So PLP was actually first observed in the 1500s with wounded soldiers that had undergone amputation, and they're the ones that actually coined the term phantom limb. Now, this can be caused by different traumatic events that can cause an amputation, as well as infectious causes and other surgically induced causes can cause phantom limb pain. And these symptoms can begin 24 hours after amputation, but it can also happen days to years later. And what is actually phantom limb pain? So it's described as the somatosensory sensation that a patient can have despite having the absence of a limb in that area. Why it's so complex is because patients can actually characterize this pain in a variety of ways. That includes cramping, shooting, stabbing, burning, tingling, and kind of everything in between. So today we are going to actually present a complex case that the patient was diagnosed with PLP, and then look into his management and talk about that as well. So we had a 49-year-old male that presented after a high-impact motorcycle versus motor vehicle collision, and he underwent a traumatic right below knee amputation due to life-saving measures. After the amputation, he began to have pain that he characterized as burning, tingling, and intermittently sharp that would radiate into what he believed was his right foot. He came to the pain management physician with these symptoms, and after physical exam, the pain management physician found that there was tender erythema over the stump, and there was no signs of infection due to not having the lack of fever, drainage, and other systemic symptoms. After careful history and physical exam, the pain management physician diagnosed the patient with a phantom limb pain with features of neuropathic pain. So PLP, the physiology behind it is still very unknown. It's not necessarily every person is going to get it. It's not predominantly male versus female, just very complex. It's a diagnosis of exclusion, and it is mainly based on history and physical exam. Once that diagnosis is made, patients are then treated based on their symptomatology, trying to control the patient's symptoms. That also adds a level of complexity just because every patient's different. And these treatments are going to be either pharmacological or non-pharmacological. Those pharmacological agents can include NSAIDs, opioids, antidepressants, and many more. On the other side, non-pharmacological can be invasive or non-invasive. Non-invasive including mirror therapy, acupuncture, TENS units, and invasive including spinal cord stimulation, deep brain stimulation. And it is really patient-specific based on trial and error. So going back to our patient, initially he was trialed on gabapentin, pregabalin, and amitriptyline. Despite his strong adherence to these medications, all of them failed. As a next step, the pain management physician performed a lumbar sympathetic nerve block, which did end up having complete resolution of the patient's symptoms. And then they followed that with a confirmatory block, and the patient still had resolution of symptoms. Based on these diagnostic and therapeutic procedures, the pain management physician then performed a spinal cord stimulator trial, which still resulted in the lack of symptoms by the patient, and then a surgeon went ahead and put in a spinal cord stimulator. So our patient still continues to follow up in clinic and reports that he's doing well with the spinal cord stimulation. But overall, the reason to talk about this case is mainly to look at how complex PLP is, as well as the management being very patient-specific. Pharmacological treatment did not work for our patient, but these more invasive procedures did. And moving forward, just hoping that more research comes out in regards to PLP and continuing to provide that patient-directed treatment so that all patients can be symptom-free from PLP.
Nice presentation. It seems like we have time for only one question. I'm going to ask the question. Now, did your pain physician do anything to do a nerve block on the stump? Because potentially you can have a neuroma at the stump. In addition, with the redness, even though there isn't an obvious infection, from my experience in plastic surgery, one can develop inflammation. So you really need a CRP, you need a sed rate, potentially you even need an MRI or a CAT scan of the area prior, because here's the whole point. You're suggesting a very high level, sophisticated, very expensive way of doing things. There's something known as a double crush phenomena, and something may be appropriate that's less expensive. What's your thoughts concerning this?
Definitely. I'm not sure if they had tried the block at the stump first, but I can definitely ask about that and look into that a bit more as well. In regards to labs and all of that, I do believe that those labs were completed with the PCP, his primary care physician, prior to kind of undergoing those procedures as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please support our mission to improve quality of patient care through education. Join us, follow us, and share this content with family and friends.